All right. That was a great session to follow. Nevenka, Mike, John, you did a great job. John, we spent 15 years answering the technical questions for the EU, so it's not about technical anymore, it's all about politics. And we'll never have a unified Europe when you got 8 outliers. So whatever it takes in your spheres of influence, we'd appreciate the good word. Ladies, you have a tough, last year, I had Coach Milewski up here, and who's the coach of the football team that did a great job for the European qualifiers. So we're talking about leadership, but a different kind of leadership. But after we finished last year, Coach Milewski gave me the team kit. And I finished, and I go walking off the stage, and Mike Zafirowski walks up, and he goes, how come he got a jersey and I didn't get a jersey? And then the coach says, I'll get you one too. And then Mike Klimowski says, how come they get jerseys? I don't get jerseys. So you don't have to give us football uniforms today. But we are going to talk about strategic leadership in an era of change and innovation. First I want to introduce my 2 panelists with me. Yeginaltay Kurt is the Director of Projects at Limac Investment with over 30 years of experience in engineering and project management. She leads large-scale projects valued at over $1 billion and advocates for women's education in STEM. Recognized by Banco Santander for promoting women at the board level, Etta holds a civil engineering degree from Bosphorus University and a master's of project management from Northwestern. At Limac, she drives major construction projects and mentors young women in engineering through the Limac Foundation. So thank you for being here.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Marija Desivojevic, Cvetkovic. I got it right. Senior VP of Strategy and Development at Delta Holdings in Belgrade. She shapes the company's business strategy and oversees key strategic projects, including international operations. She has a small portfolio of IT, HR, CSR, and corporate communication sectors. She holds an MS in mathematics and an MBA, and she's also active in sports and community organizations, demonstrating strategic leadership and innovation. And she's also challenged Mike Z to a race tomorrow. As I said, we're going to talk about strategic leadership in an era of change and innovation. And I love talking about this particularly with women, because I've always had women as part of my senior management teams. And it's so funny when I hear about, gender equality and diversity in the corporate world, because, I just promoted women because they were great people to work with. It never came down to what sex they were, whatever. In some ways, they were easy to deal with because there was a lot less ego with women at the corporate level than there is with men. So my first question for Marija. In your role overseeing strategy and development, how do you balance the need for immediate results with long-term goals?
That's a very good question. Thanks, John. So, hello, everyone. It's been different some decades ago. We were either short-term people or long-term people. We were either people-oriented or process-oriented. So we were quite or culture, either or culture. And I think in 21st century, this thing has significantly changed, and we are now end culture. So it has to be everything. And that's your question is very good. So today, when we plan and when we set up our strategy, it actually has to be and. So it has to be short-term oriented and long-term oriented. It's not an easy job to do, but it helps if you align both of these lines with the essence of who you are as a company, so with your purpose and your mission. So we try to set both our short-term and long-term goals in a way that they are actually aligned with our mission and with who we are and what we want to achieve. Also, what can help here is actually adaptive planning, meaning that, we had this famous 5-year strategic planning, and when you look at 5 years today, it actually, the world changes in 5 years. Actually, everything changes. So you cannot just set a 5-year strategic plan and sit with it. So what we do actually is we adapt our plans. Every year we do revise all our strategic plans. We actually see what's happened in the last year, and it always happens a lot. And the further we go, more and more happens in 1 year. So we have to change the plans and be aligned with what's what's happening in the world, and with the new generations that are coming, so our customers are changing, our employees are changing, so we have to be very resilient and adaptive.
So I want to ask a follow-up before I go to Eda with a question on that, but I find long-term planning, it's so important in business, and then you roll out the plan, but especially with younger people, what do you do when they come and they say, but this is different from the plan that we just approved 6 months ago? How do you handle that constant change?
First of all, we have to be aware of the fact that change is good. And the second very important thing is that you always hear that people don't like the change. You always hear that in corporations and in life. People say, we don't like change, people don't like change, people resist to change. But in my experience, all these years, what I found out actually is that people are not afraid of the change itself. People are afraid of uncertainty. People don't like uncertainty, and that's not the same thing. So I agree that's our nature to fear the uncertainty, and that's completely natural. But if you eliminate uncertainty and you introduce the change with some kind of certainty, that always goes in a good way, actually. So the role of the leader is to describe the change in a way that it brings no uncertainty whatsoever, and then you get people on board, and we are all on the way to execute that change.
Great, thank you. Eda, you're actively involved in the Lima Foundation, mentoring young women in engineering. What key qualities do you focus on in developing your mentees, and could you share any success stories in particular?
Yeah. I mean, I've been mentoring our young female engineers for more than 9 years. And, mentorship is a crucial development in my personal and professional life. And I believe that mentorship is a mutual development relationship between your mentor and mentee. So I put very importance on that. First and foremost, I emphasize the importance of resilience and perseverance to my mentees. Engineering, like many other fields, can present numerous challenges and setbacks. It's essential for our mentees to develop the resilience to overcome all the obstacles and the perseverance to keep pushing forward even when they face any challenge. Secondly, I encourage them also to develop strong communication and interpersonal skills. Effective communication is vital for building relationships, collaborating with colleagues, and presenting ideas confidently. And another key I focus on with my mentees is leadership. I all the time, push them, encourage them to embrace leadership opportunities and develop the confidence to step into leadership roles when the occasion arises. And the last one, continuous learning and growth. Engineering, as you know, is a very rapidly evolving field, and it's crucial for professionals to stay updated on the latest developments and technologies. I mean, I'm also have the privilege to extend our project in North Macedonia. I will also give some information about the Global Engineering Social Responsibility Project of Lima Foundation. For the time being, I couldn't give any success story for our North Macedonian mentees because this is the second year that we extend the project to North Macedonia. But I could give a success story from my first mentee called Kübra, a Turkish female civil engineer. She joined us in 2015 in the first year of our project, and she came from a very east part of Turkey, a very underdeveloped region of Turkey, and it's very hard to get into the big universities in big cities like in Istanbul. She got to that university, and it was the first time, she fly from that part of Turkey to Istanbul to find accommodation for the university study, etc. And at that time we met. It's my first duty to make Kübra feel comfortable in a big city like Istanbul, very crowded, very big, very expensive. And at that time, I remember we spent very much time just to know each other and just to make her feel relaxed and comfortable in that big city. We went to theaters, concerts, all social activities. Afterwards, I realized that, Kübra was such an ambitious girl, and she told me that she wanted to take an internship in Erasmus program, and she wanted to have her internship in Germany. Can you imagine, from east part of Turkey to Istanbul, then after a couple of years, she wanted to fly to Germany, and she didn't speak any German word at that time. We supported her to find a company that she can do her internship, and it was the first time she flew abroad by herself. Anyhow, long story short, now she's graduated already. She's a very successful civil engineer, and she already finished her MBA, and now she's working in one of the biggest conglomerates, a refinery project, Tüpraş, in Koç Holding, and I'm proud of her. It's a very successful. Kübra is not the only one. We have so many stories in our social responsibility project, and I'm very proud of being part of it.
It's funny, during breakfast, Maria asked me what I'm most proud of in business. And I know I've heard Mike Z give the same answer, everything else. It's the young people you develop to be leaders in other companies that make you feel more successful about what you did in business than what you do for yourself. Back to you, Marija. What are the critical elements of navigating change and innovation with a historically established company like Delta Holdings? And how do you integrate CSR and corporate communications into the core business and the strategies of Delta Holdings as you plan for the future?
I'll start from the back. So we switched from CSR to ESG, but for let's say 15 years already, Delta's been reporting on ESG, and although in our countries it's not by the law still, we started doing that a long time ago because we wanted all the, let's say, CSR and ESG goals to be actually the core of what we do. In all these years now, when it's mandatory, we are already easy with that because we have been reporting and GRI rated for 15 years, so we know how it looks like. But the more important thing is that actually this feeling of corporate responsibility actually became the core and the heart of our company. And every single employee, which is also a very important thing, actually takes part in this, what we do for the society. Also, every single employee, but also very high level of leadership engagement in all the programs that we have in ESG. So now, today, our OKRs are actually tied to our ESG goals, so it has become something that is just the natural part of our business, and we don't see it as a separate thing anymore. As for the change, we discussed that a little bit earlier. I told you that it's very important to set this this sense of emergency when you have to start the change process. It's very, very important to teach people that taking risk is a very good thing, that it's very important to make mistakes. The bigger mistakes, the better, because the bigger mistakes you make, the better success you will make one day. And we have this policy in our company that we always we reward big mistakes and we punish mediocre success. And that's what we do, and we think that giving opportunity to young people to make many mistakes is actually giving them the opportunity to learn a lot and to become senior employees in a very short time, and that gives us a significant advantage.
How do you find the latest generation of, like the youngest generation, the Gen Z and everything, compared to some of the older staff around the organization? Attitudes, work?
They're good, a little bit impatient, I'd say, but I might say that maybe we were impatient as well when we were at their age, but what we give them is the freedom to choose the way they will grow. We give them a lot of opportunities to learn and grow. We are famous in the region for our program, Young Leaders. We actually don't employ people with previous experience, almost not at all. So every year we hire 50 to 60 people, young people that came straight from universities, assuming they know nothing, and we just mold them to our culture. We give them opportunities to learn and to grow, and so it means that every year we have 50 to 60 young people that are giving us fresh blood, fresh look at the world, and whatever we think about that look and the attitude, the truth is that we have to actually we have to change ourselves, because they are the future and they will bring the future culture of work, and we just have to adapt to that.
That's great. That's the Xerox strategy. If you had any sales experience, they wouldn't hire you to sell photocopiers.
Yeah.
They wanted to teach you how to do sales their way, otherwise it wasn't appropriate.
I agree completely.
Back to you, Etta. As a passionate advocate for young women in STEM, what changes have you observed in the industry regarding gender diversity since the beginning of your career? And how do you use your position to influence and create more opportunities for women in the organization?
Thank you. I mean, I've been in business life since 1995, and I can see that, you know, we can celebrate there are more women now in STEM positions globally, but also we have to admit that there's a long way to go. I mean, statistically, even today, women make up only 34% of global STEM workforce and 25% of C-suite executive. I mean, while I was in the university study in Bosphorus University in civil engineering department in 1990s, we were only 5 female engineers out of 50. Now the number gets higher and higher, but after I graduated from the university, I started to work in one of the biggest contracting company in Istanbul, and I remember myself a very young female engineer in all the meetings. I mean, it's really dominated by men at those times. But one of the most significant changes I've observed is the growing awareness and acknowledgement of the importance of the gender diversity in driving innovation and progress within the STEM industries. Thanks to the many programs and projects of organizations that promote women empowerment in all fields, especially also in STEM. And as a board member of Limak Foundation, you know, the pillar project of Limak Foundation is Global Engineering Girls Project. It's an international philanthropic initiative that aims to inspire the next generation of girls and young women engineers. Before 2 years ago, we named it as the Engineer Girls of Turkey. But after 7 successful years of implementation in Turkey, we expanded that project globally and renamed it as Global Engineer Girls, reflecting its goal of extending its impact to all over the world. And for the time being, you know, since 2015, already more than 1,000 girls have been benefited from this project. And we are supporting for young women, young girls enrolled in chemical, civil, computer, electric, electronic, environmental, industrial, mechanical engineering departments in the universities in Turkey, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Kuwait, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are aiming to expand this project also to other geographies and countries that we have businesses. And this support has included not only scholarships and mentoring by hundreds of professional volunteers, as well as online training courses, soft skills and digital courses, online English courses, and especially, I believe that this is the best part for the young female engineers. We are providing them internship and employment opportunities within our corporation and within our partners. So, I mean, as a proud leader at Limak, I also seek to foster a workplace culture that encourages equality of opportunity, diversity of thought, and respect for different perspectives that every employee can offer. And this is not only my personal conviction, and it's also supported by statistical evidence. Multiple studies have shown that companies with more women in leadership positions can enjoy a significant boost in their profitability. What I mean is more women in STEM means a moral, ethical, and commercial win for all over the world. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
What made you want to be an engineer?
Yeah, I mean,
It's not a written question, so you have to answer it.
No. I mean, my father was a doctor, and also 2 years older, my sister was studying in medicine university, and I remember very well that my father pushed me very hard to be a doctor and study medicine. I was really good in math and in science, and I remember that it was not so tall building, but it was high at that time. To me, it was maybe only 15 floors building. I remember myself very well. Each time when I crossed across that building, I was so impressed. I mean, with the facade, with the height of it. At that time, I decided to be an engineer. I mean, civil engineer was not so clear in my mind, but it was the second option in my list. I mean, there is a methodology to enter the university exam, and you write all the universities in a list, and then you gain it to enter it. Yeah, I'm really happy because I can see a project from the beginning till the final stage, and it's a real thing that I enjoy during my journey. I can see it with my eyes. I can feel it.
You love the physical project completeness. Yeah. Here's a question from the audience, and I'm sure a lot of women want to know this. What strategies have you found most effective in navigating and thriving in what really is traditionally a male-dominated industry, which is a construction industry?
Yeah.
How have you navigated through that, through the years?
Through the years.
Because I'm sure you would have had people say, this isn't something women do. They're not civil engineers. They're not in construction.
I think my first power came from my father. I mean, we are 3 siblings and 2 daughters and 1 brother. The brother is the little one, and I've never heard a very single sentence saying that, oh girls, you cannot go out, oh girls, you cannot study, oh girls, you cannot do that and that. But my father really empowers me a lot. Also my mother, I mean, she's a housewife, but she all the time empowers me and push us to pursue our dreams as a career path. Yeah, my father and my mother, I think, helped me to choose and to be here on this stage. Thanks to them, yeah.
Excellent. Marija, how do you foster a culture of continuous learning and innovation with your teams?
Well, when you see that we are working in corporation, you might think that it's not that easy to do, because the bigger corporation gets, the harder it is to become innovative. But actually, we have, at the beginning, we were a small company with a very, very strong entrepreneurship spirit. And the most important task we had throughout these 33 years is actually to keep that spirit. So we are still entrepreneur. And what's very important is actually we are a conglomerate of many different companies, and every company lives for itself. So it has its own board that runs the company, it has its leadership, and every single leadership team is motivated to innovate. We have several programs inside of the company that are connected to innovation, and we have big rewards for the best innovation of the year, and so on and so on. We encourage our people to learn constantly. We send our people to travel and learn abroad because there's a lot of to be seen and to be learned. We have internal programs for all our employees. We encouraged transfer of knowledge, and so we always talk about it, and more importantly, we walk our talk. So we do what we talk about. So we are in constant innovation process in the company.
I have a question from the audience for you. How do you compare the economic situation in Serbia to here in Macedonia? Or North Macedonia?
Well, I guess my answer would not be correct because I'm not. I don't know a lot about the economic situation in Macedonia. I know just a little bit through Ananas, our company here in the country. I don't see that we are so far away because culturally we are very similar, and with that culture come all the problems that you were talking about earlier today. And I think we have the same battles to fight. One of the battles being the brain drain that I think is actually the biggest danger that actually threatens us all here, because I saw that people think that AI and IT should be the businesses of the future. I mean, who's going to do that? They're all left already, and they work in the States and Canada and Australia. So I think that's the big thing that we have to address, and hopefully our countries will become a bit smarter and work on that.
Do you find that the applied sciences and maths and all those types of things are being taught at the same level that your generation was taught in the former Yugoslavia?
I wouldn't know. My son studies in the States and Canada, so I think in the school we're still good.
Yeah.
And I don't think we lack knowledge in math and STEM. I think I see that because my son finished high school here in Belgrade, and he's the best student at university now in the US. So I think that
but that says something.
Yes, but I was going to say something else, and that's that you don't just need to learn how to resolve mathematical problems. I think what we lack here, and we lacked it always, is the critical thinking. That's not what we are taught at schools here in our part of the world. Critical thinking, kind of, let's say, a different way of analyzing problems, of being able to exercise associative thinking, and so on and so on. I think we lack that. Also, we lack a lot of business knowledge, which I think is not acceptable. Here at universities, you don't learn. If you study math, you will never learn anything about business or public speaking or presentation skills, which I think are very, very important, and leadership and so on. So this is where we are behind the world, and I think we are going to somehow bridge that gap at some point.
When I was in law school, I remember my first day in my business law course, and the professor held the textbook up, and he walked over to the garbage can, and he threw it in the garbage. He said, I'm going to teach you about real business, none of this textbook stuff. And he was amazing. It was all practical learning about everything that into contracts law and everything else. So a very different way, as you said, much more kind of open as opposed to theoretical. Etta, back to you. Can you describe your leadership style and philosophy, and how has this evolved over your career?
Yeah, I consider it as an insightful journey, through my career's evaluation, especially considering the rapid technological and changes of the past decade. I would characterize my leadership as a transformational and inclusive. I believe we can foster and progress if we empower the others, and if we can give courage to them, to progress in your career path. And I also confess that I learned a lot through my successes and failures. Early in my career, 25 years ago, I leaned towards a more directive leadership style, focusing on providing clear instructions and guidance among my team members. But after a while, I realized that it could have also limitations because, if you give the direct guidance to your team members, it can also kill their creation ability. So then I progressed and witnessed the transformative power of technology. I realized that the need for a more adaptable and inclusive leadership style. In today's fast-paced and interconnected world, leaders must be agile, open-minded, and embracing change and diversity of thought. As I told before, continuous learning and adaptation. I encourage all my team members to embrace lifelong learning and seek out opportunities for skill development and innovation. Also, societal change such as increased awareness of diversity and inclusion. I believe in creating an inclusive environment where everyone feels valued and respected, regardless of their background or identity. And I recognize the importance of the ethical leadership today's complex and interconnected world. Transparency, empathy, integrity are essential qualities that guide my leadership decisions and actions.
And how do you find dealing with the younger generation compared to more of your peers, your vintage? How do you motivate them? How do you get them to do?
It's really hard. I'm trying to be a role model and, taking a problem and how to solve it in real life. I give examples. But also I'm a daughter, I'm a mother of two daughters. One is 23 and the other is 19. It's spontaneously you are learning to deal with all the female and the young generation. Yeah, it's from my motherhood and from my professional life. It should be like that, yeah.
When I was on the board of a university in the States, our provost was a sociologist and he came from NYU. And he was giving us an update on just talking about, he had just written another book. And he said our parents, the parents of baby boomers, had an average of 2 jobs. Boomers had an average of 4 jobs. And someone said, so what about our kids? He said, your kids will have over 20 jobs. He said, because they'll continue to find their passion, find their happiness, find their role, whatever. They don't worry about job security or pension or any of those things, like especially our parents worried about, and which, we were somewhat in the middle on that. I found it very fascinating. Yeah. So we've had a lot of sport anecdotes through today. I'm going to go back to Marija, and could you share insights in how your personal commitment to sport and sports has influenced your leadership style?
Well, I actually, it's very hard for me to see the difference between the sports and business. First of all, you have to have the vision, like in business. So you have to set the goal. Like Mike knows, I'm going to finish that Ironman. So the other goal,
and you're going to beat him.
Yeah, well, I already did, didn't I? Yeah. I want to finish all 6 major marathons. So that's a goal. But in order to achieve that goal, you have to have something that I called fanatic self-discipline. So you have to be fanatical about self-discipline, and you have to be so disciplined in order to train for the big races that you have ahead of you. Same as in business. Also, you have to be adaptive because things change. You train for a marathon, like you run every day, it's dry, it's nice, then you go there and it's raining cats and dogs, and you have to run for 42 kilometers. And then on the way, you lose your gel that you needed to feed yourself, so you have to adapt to that as well. Same as in business, because in business you have the plan and then you have 1,000 things that actually are going to show you that your plan is not feasible. Also, it requires you to look into yourself, to be aware of who you are and what you can do. And finally, I think it's, leading by example, because when you do such things in sport, you show that actually every person in this world can achieve everything. But there's one condition: you have to want it badly. And same in business. If you want to be the best in the world, the best in your field, you have to want it really, really bad. And that's very important. So
what sports did you play as a child?
None. I just skied a little bit, and
So I find it interesting. So I always played team sports. I played American football, basketball, baseball, everything. So when people ask me this question about the sport analogy, Živko can relate to this. I think of leadership, I think of communication, I think of teamwork, I think of all the collective things you have to do to have a winning team, or the exact same thing in a corporate world. So I never really did many individual sports. I always had the team analogy when it came to sport on how I applied.
Well, then I would add that maybe it's good to be in team sport in your young years, and then go to endurance sports when you are older, because you learn a lot there.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's go back to Ida for the last few minutes here we have on a couple more follow-up questions for our panel. What is the role of international networks in strategic planning and decision-making?
I put very much importance of the strategic planning, and I've been also worked as a director of strategic planning. But nowadays, it's really hard. Everything is changing so rapidly. Almost, maybe 5 years ago, we were preparing strategic planning for 5 years. But now, I can control and, overview my budget each day. Each day I need to control. So from now on, I think the systems like ERP systems, etc., is very important, that you can control your business strategically day by day and without escaping from the strategic long-term plan. Yeah.
Thank you. Back to you, Marija. How do you see the role of strategic leadership changing in the future?
Oh, I see a big change. So what we have in the future, first, it'll be a very important task to fully embrace digital transformation. But when I say digital transformation, digital is just a little word there. The big word is transformation. So we have to transform the way we think, the way we lead, the way we motivate and innovate. The second big thing will be ESG, so corporate social. So how do we act towards the environment and the world around us? And the third thing, last but not least, will be people and talent, because that's the scarce, I would say, resource, and that's what strategically we will have to take care of. So all these three things, I think, require leaders that are completely different from the leaders from the 20th century. I don't think we are going into directive leadership anymore. What leaders have to do today is to embrace change, to be very adaptive, to be emotional, to understand others. I would not like to say, but it's more of a female leadership, not meaning that women have to do it, but the way how it's done, it's much more the female way than it used to be a long time ago. Also, but this does not exclude that the leaders still have to be very decisive, especially when it comes to special situations and to crises and so on and so on. So the leaders of tomorrow will have to be much broader when it comes to their knowledge, to their interests. You have to know everything about AI. You cannot just know finance. And so you have to know about people, you have to know about motivation. So the broader you go, the more fit you will be for the future requires of you.
It's fascinating, your analogy about the female side of managing, because there's a lot of truth to that. And I go back again to the university board I was on and the provost, and someone asked a follow-up question, and they said, okay, well, if these kids are going to have 20 different jobs, I work in HR, what does it mean for my job? And he laughed. He said, it's going to be completely different because your generation, our generation, you went through your strengths and you went through your weaknesses or areas of development, they became called, because you didn't want to call them weaknesses. But traditionally, we took those areas of weakness as things we had to do to improve our performance for the next year. And he said, this, the younger generation, if you give them their weaknesses, you've upset them and they're going to quit. Yes. And he said, that's the society we've created. So just be aware of these things when you're going through it. It's not the tough love or the male way of doing it. It's going to be much more the feminine side. And you even see it through professional sports and everything else. A coach can't just tell the players what to do anymore. He has to find other ways to motivate the players where they want to go out and do everything for the team.
But the things that won't change ever is integrity and ethics. And that's the thing that stays and that every leader of the future has to have.
So here's a question from the audience for either of you. And I wouldn't even know how to answer this. Do you agree that arts and philosophy are undermined in the business world and a lack of innovation in the 20th century? Why don't we include more of these things when we talk about business and jobs?
I couldn't agree more. I'm a collector of art.
Why?
I love art.
Why?
Because we need to think differently.
This goes back to your critical thinking.
Not everything is number crunching. Not everything is an Excel. There's a lot in art and philosophy, in thinking about life, about our purpose, because that's how new generations think. And if they don't find their purpose in life aligned with the purpose of your company, they won't work for you. It doesn't matter how much you will pay them.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow up philosophy classes. Indeed. After 40 years old, I started to read more psychological books and philosophical books. I'm really mainly interested in this. I think also to understand myself and the people around me in business life, it's really helped me a lot. Apart from that, also I'm working in the headquarters of Limak in Istanbul. Maybe it's the most beautiful contemporary art place. We have lots of artworks in the office, and I'm also started to collect some, little. And also art helps me to imagine and to create different things, I think all the engineers also need to enhance their emotional abilities, thinking. The critical thinking is not enough in this today's world to be successful. Yeah.
All right, and on my last question, I'm going to ask each of you. It's a question from the audience, but I'm going to alter it a little bit. When you describe your companies or your foundation, Limak and Delta, what lessons can other companies take from you? So how would you describe where your work environment or your work organization in a sentence or two to someone else in terms of the attributes that are important or to grow from organizationally?
In Limak, I benefited a lot of the very fast decision-making processes. Everybody is easily reachable, especially the chairwoman, all the executives. We have lots of business correspondences through WhatsApp. It's real. Yeah. So decision-making, fast decision-making, I think, plays a very big role in our success in the company and to be reachable by all the employees.
First of all, constant learning, improvement, and innovation. That's the first thing that we always say in our company. Just learn, and you never stop learning new things. Second things, young people, employing of young people, giving them the chance to grow and to exceed. Third, I didn't mention that, but now, okay, we are famous for being the company led by women completely, 4-3 executive board, 4-3 supervisory board for women 3 men, and in many of our companies, actually, we have executive boards, only women. So these 3 things, women, young people, and constant learning and innovation, that's what we bring.
Well, I want to thank you both for being on this panel. Hopefully it was a benefit to our audience out there. Change and innovation is fundamental, and as you said, you have to embrace it, and with the younger generation, you have to fuel it even more. Now, just on a personal note, I wasn't here last year, but I want to thank Mitra and Sophie for what you guys are doing with the Bliznyakov Foundation. It's really important for this country and our people. So thank you, everyone. Back to Kirk.